Okay, I think we're ready to go live here. Bueno. Hola amigos, buenas noches. Perdóname por ser tan tarde. Pero preparado las cosas y algo. Good evening to everyone. It's the El Gavin Show, and I am here, El Gavin, to talk to you in the live stream tonight. I'm going to give you guys just a few minutes to pop in there in tonight's live show, and we're going to talk about a lot of things, but we're going to talk about Mexico, and I'm going to do some Q&A. Hello, everybody. QLD, Vaughn, News Now, Fort Worth, Todd, Ovirus, everybody, Feral Man, Midnight Rider, Iván. Mi español es más y más día a día. Pero la lenguaje son de fácil, ¿no? Es la vida. Entonces, la tacos es bueno, perfecto, tanto perfecto, y la lenguaje son de fácil. Pero me practico todos los días. No soy todo listo por un show en vivo en español. Okay, so I'm going to revert to English. And so you're going to see me kind of here, and then I've got our B cam over here, so I can talk to you guys from there, and you can see the space a little bit. Respecto la Constitución de Mexico. Yeah, that'll be good. And hello, everybody. Fitzcam, see you in there. Looks like, let me know if our audio is okay. I've just been continuing to dial in. In fact, I think I can put the live stream. How about that? How about this new feature right here? You should see the live chat popping up. So if I want to feature a live chat, I can just put it up and I'm good to go. And I'm going to be shouting out super chat. So if you super chat, I appreciate the support. I mean, obviously at the end of the day, production takes time, and I appreciate our channel backers, our Patreons, and our super chatters. And to those who super chat, I will read your super chat live on the show. Don't make it too profane, or I'll censor it a little bit with my beeping beep sounds. But no, it's cool. I appreciate you guys. And I'm going to be looking. We should have great audio. I still have running through OBS Studio, streaming through the new computer. I told you about this on the show last night, so I do not need to go into all of that. Trying to get all my camera angles down and all the things that go along with this. Keep the light good. Keep the catch lights all nice and professional, and the atmosphere and the light, so that whatever we're doing, if I switch cameras, anything, you guys can hear me, you can see me. I got my proverbial glass of water, a couple of lenses here, if I need to change it around a little bit, and my switcher. And I've got some media to show you. Hola, mi Cassandra. Buenas noches. Mis amores. So, yeah, I think it's great. Running 1080, we're pushing a lot of bits through this new system, and we should be having really phenomenal look. And speaking of looks, let's open the show, because it always takes a few minutes for people to get in and get ready anyhow to the main topic. So one of the things I'm going to start doing is I'm going to do the day job minute on the show, right? Because I have another channel, Simon Studios. It's a lot smaller. I do photo stuff and photo, video, making plugins, things like that. That's my day job. And so I'm always doing sessions, and I'm talking about how I'm working with models and stuff. And even though that's not really the topic of this show per se, it's my show. It's La El Gavin show, okay? So I can do what I want. It's my show. And what I'm actually going to do is start doing on some of these shows the day job minute, just to show you guys kind of what I'm up to. I've got the headphones here, so I can do this. And what I have actually been doing is I am just doing a lot of sessions with models, so I can make new material, experiment with video, all that kind of stuff. And I will come to your Q&A, guys, so save your Q&A till we get a little deeper in the show. We have a larger group. Make sure you like, hit the thumbs up, hit the bell icon, ding, 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 so that you get notified of these. And let's actually switch. I'm going to pop in to hide the chat for just a moment on screen here, and we're going to go to my day job minute. Here's kind of what I've been working on. Make sure this works. This is new, okay? Super. Proba como eso. But you don't. La modelo es hermosa también, pero mira la luz. Mira. Qué guapa.
Ese vestido me encanta.
Sí, es bueno, ¿no? Hola, asistente. Cuando puedes doblar, dobla. Como ahí. Es que rígido es muy. Sí, es muy. No es cómodo. Entonces, con las piernas, como eso, ¿ok? No como eso. La cosa con cosas es siempre considerar todo partes de tu cuerpo, ¿no? Entonces, como con las manos, eso no, porque es rígido. So there we go. I don't think I had audio from me, so you guys tell me how that worked. Again, we're experimenting with media because I'm going to show you some different media about Mexico later in the chat. So just having fun. So let me know if you saw the kind of B-roll, and I don't think I had audio from the main mic while that was playing. You should have heard audio from the media playback. But anyways, I just kind of wanted to show you guys. I like to show you guys what I'm up to, just short little clips, and I will tinker with the audio, but that was just some footage of some recent sessions with Ivana, with Cisla, and been experimenting with some video, different things, and I just be nice in the chat. These are nice girls practicing their modeling, and as always, soy un todo caballero. I'm a gentleman. I make nice, beautiful photos, and that's what we do here. So, yeah, I don't know. Maybe I had some doubling up of the audio, and I do have some more audio to put out for you guys. So I'm going to go back. Let me actually switch this for just a moment and see. I seem to have a small problem with it. I'm going to go back to the video. You might lose my audio for just a second. Like I said, we're still working out this show. That's the beauty of this, right? So I'm going to switch over to here for just a moment and go back to the... Super. Proba como eso. Pues más bonito. Sí, eso. La modelo es hermosa también, pero mira la luz. Mira. Qué guapa.
Ese vestido me encanta.
Sí, es bueno, ¿no? Hola, asistente. Okay. All right, now you should have audio. Tell me in the chat. Now you should have my audio overlaying, because I got the ATEM on, and you should have a single track. Here I am explaining the model, because these are practice sessions for models. So I'm explaining them techniques. I demonstrate they always laugh. They think I'm ridiculous when I try and talk in Spanish and when I demonstrate feminine poses, because the truth is I'm actually quite good at demonstrating feminine poses because it's my job. Okay, so that should be working now. I think it's working. I'm going to switch back to main cam with the chat there. Tell me that time as I played that, because I need to come back for the next video and make sure I got this right. And that should have eliminated the echo. And you should have been able to hear me talk while it was playing. So again, we're just having fun on the show here, trying to experiment, figure this out. I'm using OBS Studio for those of you that want to play with this, where I can put all this stuff together and make it all work. And people are still saying there's double audio, which is not really making sense to me. So on the next one, let me just go here. I'm going to take my main voice chat, go to video 1, And let's just go here. You should see it switched to here, not playing at the moment. And the weird thing is, I think I see what's going on here. Okay, let me just put that behind. And then we should have audio here. And then we should have, I need to get rid of these double ups is what I need to do. And then when these play, we should have our desktop audio as well. So now you should hear audio, me narrating, and the audio on this. Let me know. Okay, so you should be seeing that and hearing audio, and we should be having the same on this audio. Let me make sure we're not doubling up the audio here. ATEM. No, I only have 2 audios, so you should see that. It should be good. I think it's okay. All right, it's good now. So I'm going to go back. This is the video I'm going to show you guys later. Let's go back to our main with the chat, and thank you. Doctor of Red Pills, I appreciate the super chat. Thank you for the tacos. That's 20 tacos here in Mexico, so that's dinner for the family, and I appreciate that. My real bills haven't changed, but the price of tacos has when I moved to Mexico. So let me just read this. Gavin, I'm thinking about going to Mexico. I can't stay out here in the U.S., afraid to leave, have no passive income, only a couple thousand saved up. Can I make money down there due to lockdowns? I mean, cost of living is cheap here, Dr. Red Pills, but if you don't speak, I mean, if you speak Spanish, there's a lot of opportunity. But what I see a lot, and let's kind of roll into the main part of our show, and I'll open with your question, because what I wanted to do is kind of talk about Mexico today, do some Q&A, show you guys a little bit of Mexico, what it's like, what never to do. I put that on the poster, never do this in Mexico, but actually do it because it's fine. Here's the thing with leaving, right? When you, and thank you guys, everybody, these desks are cool. Maybe I should start shipping them up to the States to you guys or something. Okay, I'm going to take the headphones off now because I don't need them right this second, and they're annoying. And I'm going to put the glasses on so I can see everything. Mexico has a lot of opportunities for business, and I've been experimenting with those this year, and I'm going to be doing more shows on that in the future. I've been doing some business activities other than on here and opening some businesses. It's been really hard, though, because people don't have money, because the politicians are still doing the same thing. Sure, there's more freedom down here, but they're still trying to close things and make you close early and using the fear and pretending that the centers are full and that everyone's infirm. And the problem that I think we're having is the economy's down worldwide. The governments have colluded for whatever reason. We could do a whole show on this, but they've colluded to destroy the global economy. And so while Mexico is less socialist than the US by far, it's more like day-to-day work, you have food, you live simple. There's a lot more of that. So it's not like anyone's starving, but at the same time, like jobs and things like that are difficult. And so for those of you like Dr. Red Pill saying, hey, I want to get out, let's come to the beginning. The first problem I have, and I get messages in this a lot, Nathan and I both try to help people out. The first problem I have when it comes to people trying to get out is, the first thing I ask is, well, do you speak Spanish? Because if you don't have a passive income in the States or a retirement, or if you don't have a online business or something like that, right? And you could explore options. There's a lot of online businesses and things that you could do. But it's weird to me. I think we're so used to socialism in the States that we're like, well, here, if I don't have a job, I can get by, right? Because there's programs and there's socialism for that. And the reason you want to leave the US is because it is a socialist, fascist, communist, mezcla of the trace country. So no, you don't have that in Mexico. You're not going to come down here and freeload. And I'm not saying Dr. Red Pill or anyone else asking this question that they are, but I get that sense from people sometimes. Like, well, what can I get if I come down there? Like, I want to come to Mexico, but I have no work and I have no money. And it's like, well, then you're kind of a slave, aren't you? Now, I don't want to put the emphasis on money in and of itself, only that we have to work hard and we have to produce if we want to exist, right? there's a ton of business opportunity in Mexico. And let me just say up front, when we bring US level management and organization, European style, I should say, maybe not US, kind of that US style management and organization, because our cultures are more fascist, but that also is more organized. We're more on schedule. We tend to be more on time. There's vast cultural differences in the way businesses are organized and done. So businesses that are ordinary, businesses like Walmart that are well organized and big, come to Mexico and they do really well, and they're seen in its high-end luxury stores. And when you walk into a Walmart here, it's not a trash hole like it is in the US. It's a nice supermarket. It's a nice department store, and it's seen as upper scale because they're using the low operating cost and the low building cost and all these things to place themselves more up here. And they're so much more organized than the culture is used to down here that they can really pull that off. Home Depot, constantly busy, those kind of places down here. So there's a ton of opportunity if you're an entrepreneur to come down here and start a business, be it just out of your house or something larger, but don't expect it's going to be easy. Don't expect that you're not going to have to work your ass off. Don't expect that you're not going to face the struggles. The advantages that, let's say, I have as somebody who makes video and photo, who understands media, who understands social media, who understands Google, who understands organizing a business, consistent hours, customer service, all these things that are a little bit less normalized in Mexico, can come down here and make a business that makes people go, wow, this is really cool. That doesn't mean I'm automatically making a ton of money, because especially on a year like this, right? On a normal year, my business endeavors would probably be doing well. But here's the thing. A lot of the people asking me, I get a lot of messages from people that are literally like on welfare. And they're like, well, I just want to get out of the US. And like, dude, you're living on socialism. You don't produce. You don't work. So then I'll say, well, they're like, can I get a job? And I'm like, well, you could start a business. You could sell food. You can make pastry. I've met people here I remember meeting a guy from Texas. He made his living just walking around Centro and selling orange muffins, right? Nice muffins, kind of European style muffins. And he just walk and sell them around. He's like, yeah, I make enough money to live on with this. And he just walk around with a basket of muffins every day and sell them. Now, he didn't have a family, but this was the interesting thing. I'm like, well, how much can you make? And you're making yeah, I can pay my bills and live with this. And, I have a girlfriend and I have, then he was talking about how the local, in a tourist town like this, the local officials would pester him for selling without a permit and things like that. But he's like, no, I'm making a living selling these muffins and these snacks. So you can do really simple things. People understand that the economy and the scale is so different here. You can do things on a very small scale. You can do things out of your home. You can sell out of your car. And there's a lot of things, but you have to be able to think for yourself and come up with ideas, and you have to be willing to put in the work. Okay? And so that's all I want to point out. And the first thing is we have advantages if we're good organizers, if we're business-minded, if we're entrepreneurs. The second thing being you can come down, you can do simple things. But then there's the third thing, and that's Spanish. And this one kind of blows me away how often I have to repeat it, how often I see people come down here or want to come down here, and they really have no desire to learn Spanish. I've been telling you guys now for 3 years to start learning Spanish. And so they say, well, can I come down there and get a job? And I'm like, well, I suppose you could work in the field and make $10 a day, and you'd probably survive if you worked hard. Yeah, you could make a living doing menial labor, but it doesn't pay very well, right? If you work in a convenience store, you make $5, $10 a day, and you might be able to, room up with somebody and survive on that. But no, if you're flying solo and you don't have family and support, like that's not a way to come down here. So I always tell people, like, learn Spanish. And I'll advise them, like, years before and say, learn Spanish now. Like, start practicing. Even if you get the basics down, even if you don't get really good at it until you're here, learn the Spanish. And I've been working hard for 3 years to learn Spanish. It's not easy. So if you think, oh, I'm going to go down there, I don't speak Spanish, they're going to want to hire me and pay me well just because I'm a gringo. No, you're dreaming. The market is the market. And if you come down here, you might get treated special as a tourist because they want your money. And there might be certain areas or certain companies, usually if you got a job before you left the US, that do need English speakers down here in factories and things like that that are from the US that want native US managers and stuff like that. But in general, you would have to be working for them before you left the US and then opt to come down and work here. And then you'd be making a good wage. But if you expect to walk into pretty much any job down here without speaking Spanish, other than just scrubbing floors, and they're just going to hire you, you're dreaming. I'm not saying you couldn't find work to keep from starving. I'm saying we're so self-entitled. We think that everyone wants us so much in the US. We think that our language is what the whole world speaks. We've been so closed behind a wall and in our box, guys, that there's no reality. There's no relationship to reality in a worldview that's even remotely realistic. And so, yeah, you can come down here. Yes, you can make money without a passive income. Yes, there's a lot of entrepreneurial opportunities, but you might need a little money to get those started. But people come down here and with $500, $1,000, they make a little food cart, or they start selling barbecue out of their backyard. If you're motivated and you think it through and you make a plan, even if you don't come down here with very much, you can probably rent a place. I think I haven't done this myself, but I think you could come down here with a couple $1,000, rent a house that was simple, and sell American-style hot dogs and grilled hamburgers off your back porch on the roadside and probably make a living. But making a living on your own requires that you be innovative. It requires that you work hard. It requires that you have an entrepreneurial spirit. If you have that, there's a ton of potential here. But if you come down here with almost nothing, there's always a risk, of course, too. I mean, what if you do it wrong and it doesn't work the first time? So that's my thought. We're going to look at some more stuff with Mexico and Dr. Red Pill. I'm not beating up on you at all. I'm just trying to answer this question realistically. I know everybody's in a different place. I was blessed when I had to flee the US. Very blessed to have an online business, and I still have my online business. And even though it has sucked this year, it's been a blessing to be able to have that income. I don't want to say passive income because I have to work my ass off still. And that's why sometimes I don't get time for videos like this, because I'm trying to pay the bills. And so whenever me making videos is paying the bills and I'm getting, ad revenue or channel support and things like that, then I make more of them. But ultimately, I have to pay bills. So my income isn't passive, it's just online. Now, you can research different ways to work online as an English speaker for different companies and things like that. And because the cost of living is so low, you may actually be able to find simple things you could just do online with an internet connection and your laptop that would actually survive, make you comfortable down here, get you your food, a nice place to live, things like that. But I know it's hard, especially if you don't have a group of people, if you don't have family and things like that down here. So I know all this is easier said than done, and I don't want to put a false impression out. The US is designed to keep you in. So especially those that are not financially independent, the system's designed to keep them dependent on the system so they don't go somewhere else. And that said, a family of four with the stupid socialist stimulus money that the US gives them might be able to pack all that up, come on down here, rent a place, and start selling treats on the street. And I mean that in a food way, nothing weird, really. So, yes, and you can get an app like Himsler, yeah, not my favorite. You could get Memrise is probably one of my favorites. It's not free. You can get, what's the free one? For heaven's sake, I forgot the free Spanish app, the language app that pretty much everyone in the world uses. Duolingo, that'll work fine. I don't like some of the limitations of it, but all of these things work, you guys. And you don't have to renounce citizenship, Emily, nothing like that. I mean, if you want to leave, you just leave, and you can get a visa on the way across the border for 6 months, and then if you want to and you want to be legit, you can go get a permanent residency card. In my case, I'm a verified refugee in Mexico, so I have a permanent resident green card. But there's a lot of opportunity. There's a lot of corruption, a lot of petty corruption. There's the same evils here. There's the same, government is the same. They're just less organized and they have less power overall. So that's an advantage for us. Different states have more money and more regulations, and other states have less money and are more poor but have less regulations and leave you alone more. It is a different world down here, and I try to demonstrate that to you guys as much as possible. And speaking of demonstrating, let's go to our next video for the night. So this show does not get too long, and then we're going to watch that video, and then I'll come back to the Q&A, and we'll do that before we wrap up tonight. And I'm just kind of briefly going over the chat and kind of looking over. Forget about making money in Mexico. Gifted Greed says, yeah, that's absolutely false. There's huge opportunities. U.S. companies are coming down here all the time and just cleaning up. Mexico, people have to understand, Mexico has a larger class difference, and there's a culture. Culturally, people are kind of predisposed that like, oh, I'm just going to be a laborer. I'm just going to be a worker, right? Kind of like maybe we were in the early days of the United States. And then to counter that, there's the new kind of 70s, 80s style university culture where people are like, oh, we're going to go to university and we're going to elevate ourselves. And as we showed in the US, that was a scam. It didn't elevate our society. It brought it down and made it fascist. What elevates us is innovating, organizing, and being entrepreneurs and producing. That said, Mexico is not poor. It's like, I want to say the 12th or 14th largest economy on the planet. Mexico has a huge amount of natural resources and production, and there's a lot of people. People will spend $1,000 on a ham for their party down here that's imported from Spain. I'm not saying, I mean, like, what I mean by that is not that that's what the average person eats. I'm saying it's, you can go to a market in the town and buy a ham, you know, like one of the ones with the leg on it. They have a name for it that I forget right now in Spanish. Serrano, I think they call it. That are like aged and imported from Spain and that cost $500, $1,000 US, right? So there's huge amounts of money being spent. And then there's other people that spend almost nothing and they just, you know, have a small apartment and live on tacos. And so there's a larger class disparity. But what I've noticed is even a person who has nothing, who's homeless, can start selling candies on a street corner, and if they're willing to stop being a drunk and actually start producing, they can elevate themselves much of the time, and pretty soon they'll can have a place to live and maybe a little business and things like that. I think it's a lot easier to start with zero, from zero in Mexico. But our European gringo culture is much more self-entitled. We expect much nicer things. We expect much more. And so that affects how we deal with things. Okay, I'm going to drink a water. And just looking, yeah, I mean, bear in mind, if you go to the coasts and a lot of the other coastal countries, a lot of the other countries like Costa Rica, like Colombia, I feel like because they're actually smaller, they're actually more controlled and regulated. Mexico is grande, and there's a lot of states, and each of those states have distinct cultures. And so it's a lot more like the US used to be, where you can kind of pick where you want to be, the climate, the environment. Where I'm at, the climate's really mild. It never gets really hot. It never gets really humid. It hardly ever freezes. In the Central Plains, the Central Plateaus out near Querétaro and Mexico City, you go down to the coast and it's beautiful, but for me, I'd probably want a second home there, not a first, because it's too humid and hot for me. Those of you that are used to that will love it. And it's the coastal culture. You go to the beach, and different states vary, but the coastal culture is very different than the bustling industrial culture of the Central Plateau. The coastal culture is much slower. Have a beer, work for a few hours, have a siesta. I mean, you will literally walk into, and I have videos of this. I don't think it's in tonight's queue, but I remember being in Sonora on the coast and walking into a restaurant at 4 p.m, and the family was just all laying there on hammocks sleeping. And our family walked in to eat, and they're like, oh, hey, yeah, we'll get the fire going. And they cooked, right? Whereas you wouldn't see that as much. It's much more commercial, industrial driven, not to the level of the US, but it's more money driven when you're in the bigger cities and the urban sprawls on the Central Plateaus. Okay? So, just looking. Let's switch actually to our cam. What I want to do is, I think I got this working. So I'm gonna, yeah, I think we're good. You should have me. You guys got my audio. So that's good. And I'm just going to play back this video, show you some different scenes, because I've been down here 3 years now, and I just want to kind of show you some things, and I'm going to talk about some things, and then we'll do some Q&A as we close out today's show, because I want to show, I know you guys like it when I do videos that show you Mexico from the streets and things like that, and I thought, well, now that we're doing this more live show environment, I can integrate videos and do all this stuff and pre-prepare them and have them all ready and queue them up, and rather than just talk, I can show, don't tell. Mike Hunt's Wild Ride. Okay, says, I support police and freedom. I've met good cops and I deal with bad cops, but the older I get, the more I like George Carlin. I do not trust anything the government tells me. Yes, I don't trust anything the government tells me, Mike, and that should go for any country you're in. Don't trust the government. One of the things I like about Mexico is there's much less trust for the government. I don't support police because I have yet to find police that are defending people's rights. I feel like the police in Mexico are more human, but they're still corrupt, and so I still stand up to them. I feel like in the U.S., all the police are robots. They're just psychotic machines. They only let the people be police that are bad cops. They don't want good cops in the U.S. anymore. So I think it's hard in the U.S. to really, if you think about it, I think it's a cognitive dissonance thing we have to overcome to support police and freedom, because police, every single day, they literally make a living destroying freedom, not protecting it. Much like our soldiers do. We say, oh, they're protecting our freedom. Well, if they had protected our freedom, we would have some. They wouldn't be over dropping bombs on foreign children so we can steal their oil because the politicians said so. So I think we have to challenge maybe our perspectives, and sometimes that's hard, I know, but let's roll this video. Okay, hang on. You guys tell me, you should still hear me, and let me know how this video plays back. I'm going to fire it off. And let me put my headphones on. I just got some different scenes, but also a little encounter here. Okay, I can hear. I hope you guys can hear. I think you guys can hear. So this is some of our early footage, just different places. I'm trying to give you guys a perspective of what Mexico's like and what it feels like and how it looks. It's nothing like most of the gringos expect. This was a lot of tradition, that's Anna right back there in the corner and part of this dance. You can see her back there in the glasses in ballet there. This was from last year because this year they were closed and everything. Oh, this is Halitla. This is great. A lot of fun in Halitla. Enormous zip lines. Absolutely amazing. Now here's these cops. This is one of our first couple weeks in Mexico, and they're like, do you speak Spanish? They didn't like it because I was filming them harassing someone. Americanos can't take video.
Oh, I'm not keeping up at all.
This is early. Our Spanish was not very good. This is none of your business. Americans can't take video. Total BS, of course. Total BS. Solo for Mexicans. This guy is such. These police are such idiots. It's unreal.
No. Do you want to get Ali? Or no, it's fine.
Okay. Hasta luego. Que tengan bonito día.
Have a good day. See you later.
¿Qué es la problema? ¿Qué pasa?
What's happening here?
Problema de ustedes.
It's not a problem of yours. See, he didn't like it. These guys were looking for a bribe, and we were filming.
Is his family? No. Curious.
Are you his family?
Curious.
No puedo darle yo información porque usted no
I can't give you information. Just see, cops never change, right? But look at the body language. This guy's not like a U.S. cop. He knows he can't really do anything to us. He knows he can't shoot us, right? And so it's hugely different. And this place, this is Tamasopo, Mexico. Incredible. We just camped for a couple weeks here, right on the river. Somewhere right around here is the RV. And I think they probably were harassing some teenagers because they had weed or something down the river. They take one of them away, but we heard that they let him go. Getting arrested in Mexico is usually not that big of a deal. These guys were probably looking for a bribe, which is why they actually were harassing us, because he was like waving, saying you can't film. He was saying we couldn't film, but I did anyhow. But I was still very nervous here. I didn't know what to expect, right? This is early on. Now I film them all the time.
Take that form. They're being threatened.
Yeah.
We should take that form down.
Now watch what happens next, though. This gets funny. I hope you guys can hear this, right? The video. It should be coming through. So nobody told me, but okay, let's go back, buddy. They're going to leave, and they forgot one of their cops. These guys, I mean, these are like Keystone Cops level stupid, these guys.
Buenas tardes.
Have a good day. See you. And they take off. So they went to leave. They went to leave, and yeah, they forgot their fellow goon. And that's just one of my favorites. They're one of the guys like running, and they had to back up and go get him and do like the backup of shame. Why is that not focusing? Do the backup of shame to go retrieve their person. But for the record, if you're down here, getting arrested here is not like in the States where they're going to drag you through courts for a year. They're probably looking to fine you, $20 or to get $10 bribe most of the time, unless it's something serious, and just let you go. There's strict rules on how long they can hold you. They, under almost every circumstance, they have to let you go within a couple of days. So I'm not saying cops aren't dangerous here, but they're not allowed to just kill you. And if you watch those guys, if you do activism, those of you who are cop watchers and things like that, and you watch the videos I do of the police in Mexico, you can see the body language and the intensity and that kind of psycho, twitchy, hopped up on drugs, ready to shoot you. It isn't there in the same way. It's a lot different. And again, Mike, thanks for the super chat. I'm a New Yorker. The NYPD is like family to a lot of us. Even the mob likes the NYPD because they're mostly fair. Plus, what they did on the 11th is God's work. I mean, like, I feel like we're just kind of this. It gets all nationalist. To me, liking someone because they're like family doesn't really mean anything. I got to be honest. I mean, like, oh, this gang is okay because they're like family. The NYPD is huge, and they're thieves, and they're psychos. And are there people that are more human among them? I suppose. But if you're a Nazi and you get paid to rob and steal and kill and imprison, and then like you're a nicer Nazi, how does that make you a good Nazi? Is that rational? And I think that's what we got to ask ourselves. But I want to try and stay kind of on topic. And my NYPD has a bunch of different divisions to cater to, let's say, mental health officers trained to deal with people with a schizophrenic episode. That's fine. And does New York kill... Why did I lose my camera? Hang on. I think I lost B cam. Does New York kill less people than maybe other cops? Okay, fine. But none of these things... We have to stop making excuses for terrorists. I guess that's what I'm getting at. And I know everybody wants to be comfortable in their cognitive dissonance. I think the battery ran out on this camera, so I'm just going to switch it. Everything's still running. I just got to turn this stream back on. And I think until we get rid of our cognitive dissonance and stop thinking like slaves and stop thinking that the thieves and robbers among us are nice thieves and robbers because they're less insane thieves and robbers than, well, other thieves and robbers. I mean, I think like we're not really going to achieve any sort of freedom as long as we're looking to support those who screw us over. Okay, I think I have this one back now. How easy was that? How easy was that? I'm going to put this right about here. Okay, hopefully it stays there because it's kind of tilting a little weird. So, okay, before we wrap up, how long have I been going? Let me just look. Where does it say? Where's my stream data? 38 minutes. So we're going to be right up there in that 45-minute mark very soon, which I like. Let me know how you guys liked having the chat on the side today. I don't know if that's really good or annoying or what. Maybe I should only turn it on occasionally, but I feel like it allows people to kind of come back and they're watching the show later. They can review, and it seems kind of cool. And Mike says, I support you, though. I used to not like you, but I understand, and we can agree to disagree on some things. Yeah, and I'm fine with that, and I appreciate the support. And it's just, I think we have to start asking ourselves the hard questions. Like, instead of saying, this guy's a good guy, or I've known him for a long time, like, are people defending freedom, or are they hurting freedom? Are they giving, or are they taking? Are they parasites, or are they producers? And I think that is what we have to ask. So I watched a couple of videos. I showed you guys what I'm doing at work. We talked about Mexico. I'm going to close up. Now I'm watching the chat. Before we close today, I am going to do a direct Q&A. because I've showed you, I just wanted to give you guys a little taste of Mexico on Tonight's show, do a Q&A. If you like these shows that are more focused on Mexico, I'll do more of them, and I'll do better with them. I'll show you more videos. I'll show you places. I have a ton of stuff from here. If you like me showing you what I do at work a little bit and doing some of those, like, tell me what you want to see on the El Gavin show, and we'll try to make it happen, because this show is here for you guys, and to keep the message going, to review things, to talk about activism, to talk about... Wow. What an absolutely unprofessional show. It's a wonder that this El Gavin guy gets any super chats. So that's like the second battery. Isn't that weird? The second battery that's died in like 10 minutes. The problem is I've been tinkering with these cameras all day. So that's a new rule. Before I start the show, I put fresh batteries in the cameras and make sure... What is this? That the batteries are going to work. It doesn't like it that I have an aftermarket battery. Look at all these things. All these things. I need a crew. I really need a crew. Let me know if I have audio back. I should have audio back now that camera is, because this camera was still going, but my mic is going through that camera over there, and we should be good. So that's why the audio went off. Okay, sorry. Sorry about that. Hopefully we're back. Are we completely back? Let me know before I continue. But yeah, we're back. Now I see it. I see where we're at now, and you guys see what's happening there. There's a little delay of what I say here. I want to say there's probably a 40-second delay of what I say here to what shows live in the YouTube stream. It's just the way of it. So, wow, technology. This is what happens when you have all this stuff. I knew this was going to happen. Like, it's really cool that I can just turn the cameras on and go. But I have all these cameras, I have all these buttons, I'm moving over here, I'm moving over there, and it's surprisingly smooth considering I'm just a one-man band here and don't have any crew. I mean, can you imagine 20 years ago? Fitzcam knows, he's been in media for a long time. Can you imagine 20 years ago, one person trying to do all of this? Like, it would have taken probably $500,000 worth of equipment and a crew of 6 to do this. So, it's cool, but we got it. Okay, now I'm actually coming back to your Q&A. So ask questions right now in the chat.
Dear Gavin, you are a pendejo. For this reason, I have this question, and I will give you $100 in the super chat if you let me call you a pendejo. Sí, bueno, por favor.
No, está bien. Let me see. Okay. Let's close the show. We're almost 45. I'm going to go a few minutes over because of our technical difficulties here on the El Sign Show. However, I'm going to be done soon because it's getting late. I have more editing of photos to do and more product updates to do for my other channel, for SimeFX.com, which is the software and the plugins and stuff that I make. So throw me those questions about Mexico and its related things, because I want this show to actually have practical information for you guys. And Let me know if there's anything you want me to cover. And if there's not, if we're good, if there's nothing to cover, I'm going to close the show for the night. As we keep, this will get smoother as we do this. I feel like each time I'm adding new features, like today I was playing videos in stream and stuff like that. And it's a little complicated, but it's also pretty amazing. And I'm having kind of fun with it. So that's why I'm doing a lot of these shows. Eventually, maybe I'll do it to where we do one of these a week or maybe two. I don't know. How many shows do you want? And the question is there any benefit of me doing all these shows? I mean, if I get a little taco money for live streaming and, you know, it's like I'm getting paid to do a show, just like if I was on the radio or something like that. So thank you all. I do still have a patron, Emily. And people can join there. They can also back the channel here. So the patron is mostly just to support my work. It's not like I have a huge patron or I do anything crazy over there. It's just a way for people to send me a little bit each month to do things like this and other videos. Swan says hi. Hola, Cisne. Mi Swan. Mi amores. Hola. And let's see. Thank you all. I appreciate it. First Amendment audit in Mexico. I mean, I've always just been, Paul, a guy that my style of activism has always just been if I see something, I do it. I think it's pretty interesting to watch things like James Freeman, and I think he's doing great work. And a lot of these auditors that go out and film, and I'm sure if you did that here, you would get harassed. The problem with that here, I don't go out trying to be an activist. Sometimes things come up and I film and I stand up for myself and other people here. But one of the things you got to understand is the culture is completely different. So while people worship the police a lot less, the police are also a lot less violent and insane, and people don't necessarily see them as inhuman. They just see them as corrupt a lot of times. And so the etiquette here, what's considered polite, aggressive, controlling your tone, the attitude that auditors have where they're really verbally aggressive, even I'm seen as aggressive sometimes just for like saying, hey, knock it off, and standing up very firmly to them in my loud gringo voice. So that style of cursing them out and you know, insulting them and calling them every name under the book, which isn't really my style, but I'm not, you know, people can do activism the way they want. People have a right to express themselves. And so sometimes the way that the auditors, as they call themselves, do it is a little uncomfortable to me, but it doesn't mean I'm like, oh, that person's terrible. I mean, they're out exposing corruption. However, if you came down here as a gringo and were treating people that way, it will be seen as incredibly offensive, because you got to realize that we're the outsiders here. So if we come as tourists, sure, we're treated nice because we're tourists and they want us to have a good experience and they want us to spend money and they want us to come back. But when you live here, it takes years. Even learning Spanish, and my Spanish is rough, I'll probably have to be here for 10 to 15 years before I understand the culture to the point where I could have the nuanced level of activism that I did in the States. And even then, I'm still a foreigner, right? Now, my kids, on the other hand, might have a different experience because they're growing up here. They're going to be more like natives. But that's the price you pay for being an immigrant. And that's just my life now. Doesn't mean I don't stand up. It just means I try and observe and learn from the culture as well. And I've realized you have to listen. A good activist, a good human rights fighter, it's not about ego. It's about principle. And you have to listen to where you're at. It doesn't mean you stand up for a different thing. It just means you have to be watching. You have to be hearing if you want to do more than just make crazy YouTube videos that make people angry. Let's see. I don't want to get into all the global stuff right now. I want to kind of focus on Mexico on this episode. And obviously the corruption is kind of worldwide this year. We talked about that a little bit on yesterday's show. That way says, how much is cost of living versus U.S.? I mean, obviously, if you go buy a phone or a camera or a lens or something like that, right, it's more or less the same. Yes, that's my wife on the front of my camera screen. Boop. Why am I focusing? There it is. Boop. Okay, so I would say the cost of living is a third to a quarter depending on where you live. And if we're talking about rent, for example, you can rent, if you were a single guy or a couple, you can rent a place, not a fancy place, but a livable apartment with a little kitchen and a bathroom and a shower. And it's going to be different standards probably than we're used to in the States, and more leaks and things like that. But you can rent a decent place down here for $100 to $200 US per month, maybe even less depending on where you live. So you can survive here and be comfortable with probably $600 a month. And of course, people here do it for a lot less. But what I'm saying is, like, even a person that's on Social Security, oftentimes they come down here and they live really well. So the cost of living, I would say in general, and it does vary by where you live. Obviously, Mexico City, Querétaro City, places like that are more than Hidalgo, Puebla, and the deep south, where things are a little bit more laid back. So yeah. The video, yeah, Emily says, I love the video where you show the prices inside the grocery store. And maybe I'll try and do that. Right now, I just avoid them. I hate being harassed to wear a mask and things like that. Everything's gotten so aggressive and angry this year, and I just hate that. What else? I'm just looking, before I wrap up tonight's show, I want to make sure I've done some Q&As. Is 10 pesos still $1 American? No, $1 American is 20 pesos right now, and it varies. I think when I got here, $1 American was about 17, and that's about the lowest exchange rate I've seen. And this year, I've seen it as high as $1 is like 23 pesos. But a taco is 10 pesos. So that's why if someone donates $10 to the super chat, I'm like, hey, that's 20 tacos. That's dinner for the family. So yeah, 19 and a half. It's actually 20 today, not 19 and a half, but it does vary by day, and it could have varied in the past few hours. So I don't know, maybe Gifted Green is right, and it's 19 and a half. When I was doing some transfers earlier, it was 20.05 or something like that for the dollar. And you can use a service like TransferWise or something like that if you get a bank account down here to transfer US dollar to pesos and not have to pay as much. But if you're also just new here or visiting, you can also just use a US debit card. And so you can actually just walk out and go to an ATM and use a US debit card, and most of the time it'll work. Invariably, your bank will turn it off because they're like, oh, they're in Mexico, it must be fraud, and you'll have to call them and say, no, I'm down here, turn it on, and you know the drill. Can you flush the toilet where you're at? I flush the toilet at my house because I hate the whole, like, throw toilet paper in the wastebasket thing that's common here. I would say most places you probably can. There's just a culture of having, like, old pipes that can't take it. And so I think because of that, there's this mindset that you don't. But yeah, I mean, whenever I'm setting up a toilet or renting a place or something like that, I'm not really into the whole throwing poopy toilet paper in the wastebasket. So no, I flush it. If there's specifically a sign in some old building or something that says don't, then I try to respect that because I don't want to clog up their pipes. But in most places, I would say it's not a big issue. Let's see. Freedom Fighter says, you and your family are Mexicano for me, Gavin. Thank you, Freedom Fighter. Appreciate it. I'm just looking over, make sure I have covered the videos. And I appreciate the questions. I think this has been fun and interesting. Yeah, if you want to know about my asylum, there's a video. In fact, I think it's the main video on my channel. Subscribe, like, go to the main page of the channel, and you'll see that video showing my story from the day I left Mexico and to the day I got refugee status, which is cool. That was fun, and I won't go into that too much because you can watch that video yourself. And there's a whole category on Mexico videos, and there's a whole category for live streams. And so if you want to see what the streets are, and if you want to see what it was like before this COVID stuff and all this stuff, I've been doing videos for 3 years now. So yes, it's cool. I pay a fee using a US debit card. Obviously, you're going to pay an exchange fee, yes. I mean, if you're using any card that's not for that bank at their ATM, they usually charge you. So normally, like a Banamex, if you go to a Banamex with a card, they usually charge you like $1.50 to use it. Some of them are outrageous, like 100 peso fee, which is like $5. So you want to go to ones like Banamex or something like that, Santander. Those are usually like $1.50 to $2 fee to pull out pesos. But then, of course, your bank is going to charge you an exchange rate with a few exceptions. There's a few debit cards out there that are known not to charge extra exchange rates. But yeah, if you're moving a lot of pesos, they'll charge you like a 3% exchange rate to transfer. So if you're moving a lot of pesos, you should ideally get a bank account. But I think now they're trying to make that restricted. And you have to have a residency card because they're trying to control the banks more here, just like in the U.S., because all that's globalized. And they want the banks to report to the U.S. and all that kind of stuff. So if you want to operate in cash, like you can transfer cash to a bank here, but anytime banks are involved, they want control. And thanks, Billy. Merry Christmas. And JM, yes, you can buy a lot of old Volkswagens. I have Leon Cupra. There's a video about that on the channel, which is a Volkswagen. It's basically a Volkswagen. It's a company owned by Volkswagen. It's just a car from Spain, and so the mark is Seat, but it's on the Volkswagen platform. It is a Volkswagen GTI platform. And there's a whole video on that little car as well that I bought down here. But yeah, those old Beetles are everywhere. You can get one of those you can probably get a halfway decent one for $1,000 down here. So you can certainly do that. Yes, Saddle, I'm still doing lots of herbal stuff. And maybe if people want, we'll do some live streams. I don't feel like there's ever been a ton of interest. I've been studying herbs for like 8 or 10 years now. And I don't just mean like the memes from Instagram or like, oh, this herb is cool, it cures everything. I mean, really, everything from herbal antibiotics to virals to hemorrhaging. And so like I actually am pretty hardcore about herbology, and I'm starting to learn more and more about the things down here. And so I don't know if people want more shows on that. I can do live streams on all this stuff now that I'm getting set up for this and getting organized. But people need to tell me what they want. Some people really would rather pop pills than take herbs. In fact, unfortunately, I think that's most of the people. Even though people say they want to live independent and free, at the end of the day, they're running to the welfare checks. They're running to the government. They're running to the doctors and the pharmacies to get their problems solved. And so that's how they keep us enslaved. And maybe that's why that stuff never gets that popular. I don't know. What do you guys want to see on the Gavin show? But yeah, I mean, if you have questions, or I don't know offhand, Captain Justice, what frozen shoulder is. It doesn't sound good, but I'm not sure if that's just a term you're using or if you're referring to something more medically specific. That said, just looking over, making sure I've answered all the questions. And I think I have. And there's not a lot of questions tonight. I expected more questions with the Q&A session about Mako. But we're not consistent yet. We're not getting a lot of live viewers on these shows. So once we start growing these shows, they get a little bigger and stronger, we'll start getting bigger conversations going. And I'll figure out kind of what works and what doesn't with the help of you guys, the core, kind of the founders of our channel here that have been here for a long time. What's my opinion about universal basic income? Socialism never works. If your economy is run like the U.S. is run by stealing other people's money, you will eventually, to paraphrase Reagan, who I don't like in a lot of ways, but it was a good quote, the problem with the socialism is you will eventually run out of other people's money. And that's what's happening in the U.S. And it's going to get interesting, I think. Maybe I should just put that camera on manual focus so it just doesn't change. I don't know. Because when I look down, it's focusing behind me is what's happening. Okay, Merry Christmas. Winter's coming. I'm just looking. I think I'm going to wrap it up. I think it's good. What was the biggest unforeseen problem you had when you moved to Mexico? The language. People have no grasp, and this is why I was mentioning earlier, like, people think they're going to come down here and it's like, oh, well, it's going to be like the U.S. They're going to have bilingual stuff in place. The stores are going to have bilingual. And like, it doesn't mean there's not a lot of English speakers. But I was just telling a friend this from the U.S. the other day, like, you cannot expect people to speak English. And they're just going to look at you like an a-hole. And when you start finding a lot of English speakers is when you get off your butt and you learn Spanish and you speak their language. And suddenly they realize you're an English speaker, and the ones that speak English want to talk to you in English. But they respect it when you try. And that's why some of my early videos, it's getting better now. My Spanish is still pretty bad, but it's a lot better than it was 2 years ago. Go watch some of those videos. It was terrible. But I would still go out and use it because that's how you really learn. Thanks, Bugsy. Are you able to claim medical exemption and get into stores without a mask there? I would say no, although that doesn't seem to be working really in the U.S. in most areas either, because the whole mask thing is just a giant government control. But I'm speaking of the large stores. If you go to the little mom and pop shops in a lot of areas, they're not even asking you. And the ones that are, sometimes you just tell them no. A lot of it, what I'm noticing in this town, which this past couple weeks, the idiot criminal governor here has been making up rules and making restaurants close early and things like that and saying, oh, it's in the red zone, the numbers are up. And so there's been more rules. And what's happening is when they make rules, the state health officials go out and harass the businesses, and the businesses are afraid of being closed down. And they really just close them down so they can get a bribe and reopen. But they're using fear. So I see less belief and more just fear. And so What I've noticed the past couple weeks in this town is the business is harassing more because the officials are coming and threatening them if they don't harass people. And so I don't go for that. I'm like, hey, you don't harass your customers. Screw the health officials. I mean, you might try to work around it and not, so you don't get closed down, but you don't abuse your customers. You don't be rude to your customers. If you do that, you're an idiot and you deserve to go out of business. That's reality, wherever you are. I get that if you're a restaurant or if you're a store and the health officials are harassing you and they're going to close you and it's your livelihood and your employees are going to lose your job. I'm not saying that you can't have some tactical retreat, but if you treat your customers, if you actually believe what's going on and you treat your customers like garbage because they're intelligent enough not to, you deserve to be out of business. And I don't feel sorry for you. But if you're just trying to make it so the government doesn't close you down and all this ridiculous, and you know it's ridiculous, and I see this in a lot of stores, in that case, I sympathize. Now, on the other hand, if you drive 30 minutes away into Hidalgo State, way less over there. It's more native. It's a different culture. It's a different culture than Querétaro State. Hi, Titus. Hi, Swan. Hi, other kids. Love you, babies. Okay, Merry Christmas, Feliz Navidad, and let's see here. And yeah, if we're talking about stiff joints, I would look at the bone and tissue cream that I make. That's good for almost all of that kind of stuff. It's really phenomenal. If you can't find it, I think there's a link to it. Well, just search Gavin Sign bone and tissue on Google. There's a whole article that details the recipe. It's not a recipe I invented. It's been around for a long time. It's a Dr. Christopher formula, and you can actually buy it on Amazon from Dr. Christopher's estate. But yeah, bone and tissue ointment is phenomenal for anything like muscles, joints, things like that. So yes. We have Biden or Trump and why? Neither. And I'm not going to even get into that right now because I want to stay on topic for Mexico in this show. And let's see, new diesel Volkswagen TDI cars. I don't know. Like I've never bought a new car. Go watch my video on the Cupra. It's not a diesel. I don't think when I have a car, I like it to be fun and sporty. My Cupra is like a Golf GTI, so it's pretty snappy. It's a manual transmission. The diesels are fun and get a lot of gas mileage, but really if you want to get a lot of gas mileage here, you can get these diesels and little tiny diesel pickup trucks and things, but natural gas is very common, so a lot of people just convert. I think it's about $500 down here to convert your vehicle to natural gas. And let's see, I'm just going to not get into the questions that are just about non-related things to today's show because I want to learn to kind of stay semi-focused on these shows. Somebody's asking about Europeans in Mexico. Definitely Europeans. Absolutely. French come here a lot, actually. If you're touring a lot, you're going to see a lot of French. If you go to the tourist areas now, less and less gringos because they're all paranoid and they want walls. I mean, they just want to lock themselves in their country. So there's a lot less tourism from the U.S. Canada more. Canada has a much better relationship with Mexico. They don't treat the Mexicans like total crap. The Mexicans can go tour in Canada without special permission and special permits. They can just go and hop on a plane and go visit Canada. So Canada is not complete a-holes with their neighbors, and the U.S. is. And so because of that, there's a stronger and stronger divide. In fact, the president of Mexico just declared that the DEA and guys like that from the U.S. no longer have diplomatic immunity here, which has caused a huge upset in U.S. politics. Whether anything will happen with that and they'll actually continue with that, I don't know, because the U.S. just tends to give Mexico money to get what they want. Yeah, there's tons of videos I've done on Mexico. There's an entire category of videos on here on the channel about Mexico, so go watch the Mexico category. Some of them even have Spanish subtitles. I'm just looking over now that we're ready to be done, right? The questions are coming in. Let's see. Not going to get into the election fraud. I do have diesels, by the way. I have both my pickup truck and the super van, which you'll see in my other videos as diesels, and they both have tuning modules. So yes, diesels are very powerful, but off the bottom, generally, I haven't found diesels to be that intense. I mean, my little Cupra that's tuned as a sporty car, I don't know if sports car might be a stretch, but it's snappy, and off the line, it would blow away my diesel trucks, right? And my diesel pickup. But yes, I do like tinkering with my diesels. And let's see. They don't make new VW Beetles here anymore. I don't believe, no, they're not available, and they're not in production anymore. At least down here, I don't think you can buy one. In the States, I think they still are, but right now, I don't think there's a current new Beetle for sale. They quit making the classic Beetle here a lot earlier in the States. I think the classic 60, 70 style Beetle, they made it all the way up till 1994. So they're literally everywhere. They used to be used for all the taxi cabs. Why didn't you go to Canada instead? Much better quality of life. I don't know if I would say that. I've been to Canada. I would say it's a little more organized, and because of that, it's a bit more fascism, and the police are less psycho than in the US, although they are getting worse every day. So what is quality of life? Canada does have a low prison population per capita, which I do respect, and there's certainly some good things about it. And Canada is somewhat socialist, although the U.S. is more socialist and more fascist. So yeah, if you have to choose between the U.S. and Canada for freedom, absolutely choose Canada. Definitely don't go to the U.S. But if it's true, I think it's fair to say it's a little more Wild West in Mexico, which doesn't mean there's not normal things and malls and Costco's and things you can do, but because of the US-sponsored drug war, there's a lot of problems, and the politicians are bribed and controlled, and there's a lot of that going on. But the personal freedom is also a lot higher, in part because the people don't worship the government as much, and I think in part because the government, because of the prior statement, is way less organized and way less powerful. The roads are bad in Mexico, generally speaking. Get used to it. It's the life. So, yeah, I think we've covered it, and I prefer freedom. I really do. And that's why, I mean, I tell them flat out down here, like, look, I left the USA for fascism. I'm not tolerating it here. And you can stand up for yourself more here. It doesn't mean that they won't ever try to screw you over or extort you, but there's a lot more personal freedom, and that for me is huge, you guys. And I think for anyone who claims they love freedom, the level of freedom you have and what the government can get away with should always be above the programs and the nationalism and the patriotism. So I'm going to wrap this up for tonight. It's been a pleasure. It's been fun. I know I just did one of these yesterday, and I did one today, and I will keep doing them if you guys like them. I can't promise I'll do them every day, but I hope to, once I get a system down, figure out what you, the viewers, kind of want to see from the shows, and also what I just enjoy doing and can make work, that we can kind of get a system down and make this smooth. And as we do that, I'll probably try and put these on a regular schedule. So we can do lots of videos talking about the crazy politics and the CVs and cars and all that stuff. But tonight's episode was kind of focused on talking about Mexico, what I've seen here, what we're doing here, and some of the things I'm up to and what it's like. And I'll show you more of that with more videos queued up if you guys want to do more of these, because I have a ton of videos from Mexico. If you want to see what it's like, see what different states look like we'll just talk. We can talk about geography. We can talk about how the cultures are different in different areas. We can do all kinds of things. So I hope you guys enjoyed. I'm going to go over here, and I'm going to end the stream for tonight, and let me know. Thanks to our super chatters, our channel backers, our Patreons, helping us keep things going, helping me keep making content and setting up equipment and all this stuff. Basically, all this new equipment that I got for doing these live streams. I use my existing cameras, but I had to buy new cables and mounts and capture cards and things. And that is essentially thanks to our channel backers and Patreons. It's not a lot, but it helps advance things along, and that's cool. I appreciate it. I appreciate you guys. Merry Christmas if I don't get another show out. And buenas noches a todos. Have a good night. Y a mis amigos en México y en el mundo de español, muchas gracias. Y tengo un bonus.